I will continue to modify the architectural sheet. If I need to modify the elevations, I have to select Model Space. I then select the image of the elevations and right-click and select Open XREF. This is not necessary at this time, so I'm going to tap the Escape key once to remove that menu, and I will tap the Escape key a second time to remove the grips from the image of the elevations. Going back to Layout 1, I now wish to align the elevations, and I will use the construction lines and O-Track to assist me. I'm going to select Zoom Window, zooming here. I'm going to turn on O-Track. I'm going to turn off Ortho. And now I will select Move. I'm going to select this viewport and enter. For the base point, I will select this intersection, and I would like it to align with this intersection. Without clicking on the mouse button, I am simply placing the cursor at this intersection, and I will move it down slowly. And as I do that, it is tracking the intersection for me. Moving slowly, it is now tracking the two intersections, and it is giving me a new location. I can now select this point with a left mouse click, and I have aligned the elevations. I will now grip the viewport, bring it in a bit, zoom extents, and if necessary, I can take this viewport and bring it in as well. But sometimes you do have to turn off OSnap so that it does not accidentally snap back to the endpoint. I can turn that back on now. Tapping the Escape key to remove the grips. I no longer need to see the construction lines in the viewports, so I'm going to turn them off. I will double click first in the top viewport, go to Layer Properties Manager, select the layer with the construction lines. I will then hold down the Control key and select the layer with the miscellaneous text. Going over to the column which reads Current Viewport Freeze, I will click on this icon. Going back there for a moment, you can see that they are now frozen in the current viewport. I will select OK. No longer visible here. If I go to Model Space, they are still visible here. Back to Layout 1. I will make the bottom viewport active, and instead of going to Layer Properties Manager, I will go to the pull down menu and select the same icon for the construction lines and for miscellaneous text, and they are no longer visible here. Switching back to Paperspace, I think I will simply click on the text down here. Takes me back to Paperspace. I will now switch to Model and zoom in to this location, maybe zoom in a bit closer. I'd like to move the text and the lines, so I'm going to use an implied crossing window, gripping the bottom text, right-clicking, selecting Move, and holding down the Shift key, right-clicking, and selecting the perpendicular OSnap, perpendicular to that line. Tapping the Escape key once, and now going back to select the line. I will pick the endpoint and extend it by 3 inches. Then I will draw a circle from this endpoint, giving it a radius of 12 inches. Selecting Match Properties, matching the properties of this line to that circle. Zooming in a little closer, gripping the circle, selecting the quadrant point, right-clicking, selecting Move, and moving it to the endpoint of the line. Tapping the Escape key to remove the grips. I will now select Copy Object, taking the text, copying it from this location up, double-clicking on that text, changing it to the number 1, and finally modifying the properties of the text by selecting it, changing the justification to, say, center or middle, and middle is going to work best. Closing the window, I will now grip the text, shift, right-click, and selecting the center O-snap, center of the circle, and then Zoom Extents, back to Layout 1. And all I would have to do now is copy the text and the number to the different elevations and editing the text and the number to the different elevations.